these items in our catalog are fantastic, and they're kind of designed in conjunction with things that you might be documenting. So for instance, the Project Life kit that I'm going to show you today is this one called Let's Get Away. It is perfect for a trip that you go on or vacation. And all of the items included are the kinds of things you might want to use for such an album, but they aren't so specific to any place. So for instance, you could do this just as well on a beach trip as the trip to London that I'm actually going on. And I'll show you what I mean by that. It's really great because of the versatility. Now, some of them are a little bit more specific. For instance, we have baby collections. This is clearly not what you're going to document your trip on, but it's great when you have a baby. So that's kind of cool. There's one geared towards, this one's called Happy Times, and this is really geared towards family kind of stuff. This is the Life. I actually used this one on a Project Life book album I made for a trip to Hawaii. And then Moments Like These are really cool, and they're very, they're just about moments. They're not specific. So you could do this anything from a wedding to everyday life to whatever. I love that. And speaking of wedding, there is a wedding one. And the beauty, by the way, of all of these kits is even if you don't have that specific thing happening, so if you already have a wedding album or you are wanting to make a scrapbook that's different, you can use these cards but change them up to fit your needs. I know I'm not saying this very articulately, but this is like the fourth take of this video. There's just so much to include. Oh my gosh. So anyway, so the basic thing to start out for your video or for your Project Lifing is to start with an album. We have two 12x12 albums, and we actually have two 6x8 albums. The other one is in our occasions catalog, pardon me. And the album size makes a huge difference. So for the 12x12 albums, that's when I recommend if you're going to do an ongoing project or an ongoing, like your family or just life. The smaller album is great for a trip or something shorter. So for instance, this is a 6x8 album that I did for my Hawaii trip, and these are only my selfies. Yes, I have a separate album for my selfies, but if you know me, you know I take a ton of selfies. Oh, look that's my friend Kylie. She's on the blog hop. How cool is that? Anyway, the smaller sized album is great because it's really easy to get your album done quickly. I will post a link to the video I did on this album, by the way, so you can see it in more detail. So the first thing you do is choose your album, then you choose some page protectors based on that album. So if you're doing an album that is 12x12, obviously I highly recommend the Variety Pack 1. The new Variety Pack 2 is awesome, and I'm going to show you how I've used this in my album as well. Of course, if you're doing a 6x8, those are the page protectors you're going to use. These are the basics: a card kit, an album, and then page protectors. So let me show you what to do once you have your supplies gathered. So first of all, in addition to the Project Life kit, we also have some other items that coordinate. We've got some framelits, and then we've got some stamp sets, and they are geared to work with your Project Life items. And then of course the card kit, and then the accessories. So the card kit is very awesome. I'll show you. This is just part of one. It comes with 4x4 cards, 3x4 cards, and you can see I've pulled some of them out, 4x6 cards. And they are oriented to be both vertical and horizontal. So you can use them either way depending on the direction your cards are in, or the pictures are in your album. And what I love is some of them are sayings. So these are obviously just as a decoration piece in your album, but some of them, actually many of them, leave room for you to journal. And journaling is of course great. Now, the way I like to Project Life, and that's kind of what this is all about, is how I like to do it and sharing what I do with you. And then you can determine what works great for you. And by the way, I love how you can just store all your stuff in this cute little box. And voila, it's pretty. It stores lovely on your shelf, either this way or this way on your shelf. Looks nice. Gotta like that. Okay, so back to how I project life. I started by gathering all my photos for my trip. First of all, I had to print them all. I tell you, a trip to London on your own does constitute quite a few photos. I have taken a ton. But once you have your photos in order, and for a trip, I like to do them in chronological order. I think for depending on what other events you're documenting, order is not always totally, important. But in this case, I like to do that. I wanted to do them in order. Okay, enough said. Now, I want to also mention a couple other things. When I went on this trip, I took pictures on my phone, and I took amazing photos. Oh, look, there's a selfie. Oh, another one. Oh, another one. Oh my gosh, so obnoxious. Look at all those selfies. Seriously, Dina. Oh, there's another one. This is like a really bad stretch. Anyway, but then the other thing is so cool is that on my phone, it is going to tell me where I was and the date and time. Now, I was not actually there at 7:43 in the morning, I might add. It is time-stamped because I think my phone never got turned on in London, like for service. I had the internet, but never... I kept it in the airline mode. So even though I did not have access to my phone service while I was there, it still gave me the location stamp. So you definitely want to enable that, because when you do get back to the internet connection with your phone, all those stamped places will be on there. Now, the other thing that I love about this is that I can look back and see all the photos I took of that day and figure out where I was and what time it was and whatnot. So when I go back to my album, it's really helpful for documenting what I was doing and where I was. Because some of these, I have some random pictures of just buildings. I mean, obviously some of the buildings are easy to identify, but some of them aren't. So it was really helpful to have some of that information. Now, one thing I will add is, while we do tend to take a lot of pictures with our phones, on a vacation such as this, you also are going to be taking photos with your camera. And when you're using your camera, you tend to take pictures horizontally. When you're using your phone, you tend to take them vertically. Did you know that? So we have a great selection of pages that will help you incorporate both of those styles into your pages, which is great. One thing I want to say is I have a big Canon Rebel, the big, bulky, lens-attached camera. But I hate it because it's big and bulky. I brought it on this trip. I think I took 2 pictures with it on the first day. And then my father-in-law offered me his camera to fit in my pocket. And then I got this one for Christmas because I loved it so much. By the way, if you ever want to trust out a camera, that is the way to do it. Borrow somebody's for something, and then you can see if you like it. So this is a Canon Powershot Sx 700 HS with Wi-Fi. And what I love about this camera is that it has a really great screen, so you can see everything wonderfully. It has many of the features that my actual Canon Rebel had. So I can do some of the more, manual settings and whatnot for the photos that I'm taking, but it also has a killer zoom. Oh my gosh, this zooms as much as my lens. I have a 200 millimeter lens. I think that is the right name for it. And it's, it's that long closed. And then when it zooms out, it's really long. Anyway, this takes as good a pictures as that does, and it fits in my pocket. That is the most awesome part. So I really like this. I also use this camera to take the pictures for the photos I put on my blog. So it gets a lot of views. So I really like it. Like I said, it was about $300 and I ordered it from Amazon, and it came in a bundle with 2 extra batteries, which I highly recommend, because if you're taking flash photos, you're going to burn through that battery really quick. It also came with a 32 gig memory card, which is awesome because you are taking a lot of pictures that require a lot of memory, is what I'm trying to say. It also has video. So if you're doing any video, you need that. So P.S. This worked so awesome when I was at the Maroon 5 concert last year with my best friend, and we took pictures of Adam Levine like he was right there singing just to us. Okay. Side note. Sorry. back to my trip to London. So when I'm working with my photos to start, of course, you're really going to be overwhelmed at first thinking, how am I ever going to get all of this into my album? And here's what I recommend. Get your pictures in the album. Just put your pictures in the sleeves, leave some places for where you want to journal. And as you're doing this, you can kind of figure out where you're going to want to add journaling. It's not that hard to figure out, like, oh, here we are visiting the Tower of London when they had all the poppies for the 100th anniversary of World War I. Of course, I'm going to know that I'm going to talk about these poppies because it was so cool. Look at that. They made these poppies. Each one of these is an individual poppy. And you can see here they're removing them because it was about over. So cool. And obviously I'm going to want to write about that. So I'm going to leave room in here. Now, in preparation for this particular video, of course, I left, or actually I wrote in a lot of these, but I'll show you as I go a little later. I left empty spots. Now, part of why I just want the photos in the album is so that they're in the album and they're not just randomly out somewhere taking up space someplace. So it's great to get them in. What you can do once you have them all in is if you need to change them around, move them a little bit here and there, you can do that. And you can easily do that with the page protectors because as you can see, you can just pull things in and out. The other thing that I did as I was going through this is like on this particular page, I have this little note that says, what was the Queen's stuff above? So we were on the River Thames and there was this queen, this is some sort of Queen's something or other. I honestly have no idea. I can't remember what it was, but I remember my mother-in-law's talking about it, which is why I took the photo because it had something to do with the Queen. I had to take a picture, right? And by the way, I hope my English friends who are watching this find this hilarious because it's an American's version of London, right? Anyway, so I have to figure out what this was and I can just ask my mother-in-law and look back on it. I also did take a few notes while I was there, so I can do that. Now, one of the things I want to mention is this page, or I want to talk about is this spot right here. So I went on the London Eye and I thought I had all the photos, but then I found some more. So that accessory or that variety pack 2 I told you about that has the smaller pages, this was great because I could add these extra pages or these extra photos that I had found later, and I can just add them in and pop them into my album without disrupting the whole thing and having to redo a whole bunch of pages, which is really great. Okay. The other thing that I want to mention, and I talk about this several times before in other videos I've done about Project Life, is if you have a photo that does not fit, it's okay to cut it in half and fit it in the 2 pieces. So for instance, here I've got a spot where my whole photo 4x6 vertical will fit in here just like that. But then I had another photo I wanted to put in here that was not... it is a vertical picture, but I didn't have another vertical spot. I just cut this in half and threw it in. It looks like a regular picture. Yes, there is a line cut through it. It's okay, but it fits in there great. And it's a great way to take this picture and keep my album's flow really nice. Now, the other thing, as I was going through here and adding my cards, I kind of wrote some of the things that I wanted to talk about as I was going. So when I got to this page, I would remember some of the things that were happening. And again, that's where my phone really is helpful. But now I have to take you to, this is the most hysterical page ever. And this is not in any way meant to be offensive, but it is certainly meant to show you that when you travel by yourself, you kind of revert back to like a teenage girl. So I'm at the V&A Museum, which is a really cool museum of all this beautiful art. And so we walk in, this is the sculpture of David. There it is. But I'm so lame. I took this picture, it's a selfie, and my eyes are kind of bugging out and I'm laughing because of course it's the nudie picture. And P.S. I hope nobody saw me doing this because I was so immature, but it was hysterical. And I was really tired, and that's what you do when you travel by yourself. You take these ridiculous pictures. I posted this on Instagram and everybody went nuts and they were like, I can't wait to see what you do next, Dina. So it was really fun. I will never forget this, even though it's totally stupid and immature. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this. We'll end on that happy note. I just have to turn this over. Okay, here, there's Jesus. But I just love sharing project life. I hope you've liked it too. Please go to my blog. In the description of this video will be a link to my blog post where I explain a lot of my tips and have photos of some of these layouts for you to enjoy. Thank you so much, guys. Have an awesome day. Bye.